Doug McKnight here again from the FFF library here in Livingston. I'm going to tie you a foam hopper. It's called the SweetgrassHopper. Came up with this guy a few years ago, and it's a great big water, big hopper for big water. You really can't sink this guy. To get started, what we're going to do is grab a 2X long heavy-duty Nymph hook. This is a size 8 here. Also tie this hopper pattern in sizes 10 and 12, and once in a while a really big 6. So what we're going to do is get that hook in the vise. And we're going to use some Ultra Thread 140. This is Hopper Yellow. This is the color that I like to use for this fly. And we're going to just give the whole shank a base coat of thread all the way back to the barb. And once we get it back there, we're going to wind up to right at the halfway mark on the hook shank. And this next material that we're going to use is some 4mm Evizote foam. This is from Rainey's, and this is a cream color. You can tie this in any color you want to, but usually use tan or cream. And what we're going to do is cut this foam maybe about 3/8 of an inch. And cut a fairly long strip of it and double it over like that. And that's going to be the main part of the fly. And we're going to cut this doubled over foam to maybe about 1.25 inches. This is a size 8 hook. As you go down in size, you also want to go down in length too. But say about maybe 1.25 inches. And where we're going to kind of position this to tie it in, we want this doubled over part to extend past the eye of the hook, maybe 1/8 of an inch or so. And once we got that measured, what we're going to do is take this doubled over foam and give the back end of it a little bit of a taper. Just cut a little bit off the sides. About like that. Okay. And right about where we cut is about where we ended up cutting is right about the halfway mark. And we're going to go ahead and lash that down with maybe about 6 wraps. And then we're going to take the thread and do maybe cut back to, maybe 1/8 of an inch. Go across the top of the foam and then a couple of wraps like that. And we're going to just repeat this down the shank of the hook, and what we're going to get is a nice segmented look. And once you get about back to the barb, we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to miss the hook shank and do an extended body. And as we get back to these further wraps, we're going to use more and more thread pressure, so the body kind of starts out fat, and as it tapers back to the end, gets quite a bit skinnier. So once you get back to the very end of the foam, I'm going to do a couple of wraps, and then we're just going to basically repeat the process in reverse. We're going to go back across, and you'll see there'll be a little X of thread right on the top. Come underneath to the next segment, skip up to the next one, And then once you get back to where the barb is, then we're back on top of the hook shank. And then it's just a matter of kind of getting up to that halfway mark right there. So that body, you should have, you know, 5 or 6 segments where it's kind of crossed over. And if you look at the bottom of the fly, there's the same number of segments down here. And then the next thing you want to do, see how you can still roll this foam back and forth. You want to give that hook shank a little bit of, I like to use Zap-A-Gap. Just a little coat right there, and make sure that you're kind of flat up and down to where that foam body is not off kilter. Now we're going to take a piece of tan razor foam, and this is just a really thin foam, and we're going to cut maybe about a 1/4 inch strip, maybe about 1.5 inches long, about like that. And then we're going to take it and we're going to trim a V in there, about 1/2 inch long. So just like that. And we're going to take this V, and this is going to be kind of the wing case to this hopper. And we're going to have it extending off the back of the abdomen a little ways. Tie that down like that. Now the next thing we're going to do is take some barred rubber legs, and we're going to make some knotted hopper legs. So just take 2 of them and put an overhand knot in them. Just like that. And we're going to cut one of the short ends off. And you know, that's the leg part, and that's the fatter thigh part. And these get installed. I like to get the knot even with the end of the body, about like that. And you want to tie these in on the sides of the fly. So just take a loose wrap, follow it up with a couple of tight ones. And when you release, they should kind of maybe angle out with the thread pressure a little bit, just like a real hopper leg. And we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So when you get both of those tied on, they'll look just like that, or just like that from the rear of the fly. Now, I've got these excess rubber legs. I'm just going to trim them to the same length as the foam up front. And I'm going to trim out, you've got a total of 4 legs. I'm going to trim 2 of them out, just like that. Now I'm going to lift up this foam a little bit, and I'm going to move my thread up to right behind the eye of the hook. And I'm going to take this doubled over piece of real thick foam and tie that down, just with what I have left up there. And if you give that foam a bit of a squeeze and tighten down, that's a good way to do it. You want this part of the hopper right here a little bit thicker than this part of the hopper right here. So once you get that lash down, the next step is to take this excess razor foam, pull it forward, and with a wrap or 2, secure that. Now I'm going to take some near hair. This is basically just some tan Antron yarn. And what I'm going to do is take a hunk of it here and cut maybe a piece that's about 4 inches long. And you tie it down right about in the middle with just a couple of wraps of thread. And we're going to take some Zap-A-Gap and put just a little drop of Zap-A-Gap right there. And then you do nothing else but take this forward-leaning piece of near here, pull it back, and then you take the razor foam and pull it back, and just put a little bit of pressure with your thumb and your forefinger, and that Zap-A-Gap dries very quickly and permanently locks in this antron wing. It won't fall out, it won't slip. And then I'm going to take this antron wing and trim it about to the length of the end of the wing case. And then I'm going to trim this near hair a little bit, or this razor foam a little bit. And you end up with a nice little kind of wing case there. Next, I'm going to take some more rubber legs and maybe trim those about 1 inch long, 2 of them. And these are the forward legs, and these get tied in on the sides just like the back legs, one on each side. And then you just trim all the forward legs even, about like that. And that's pretty much it as far as the tying portion goes. From what I do from there is just give that fly a whip finish. And then put a little drop of Zap-A-Gap right on the belly of the fly, and take a bodkin and just spread it out along the thread wraps on that fly, and then maybe a little bit at each leg joint. And that keeps those legs from being able to pull out. The very last step in this fly is to take a razor blade and trim this fat head to a pointed shape. Just like a real hopper. And then you take a black Sharpie pen and put 2 little eyeballs on there. And one thing I also like to do is take a Sharpie marker, and like a red Sharpie marker, and hit the back part of these legs and make them red. Really makes for a really cool looking hopper. The fish love this thing. It will float to no end. It'll hold up a very heavy nymph. Give this hopper a try next time you're out trout fishing in the summertime.